Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. We've got a treat today. We've got JV Crum III with us as a guest. He's known for his live on-camera trainings where he creates a breakthrough for business coaches and consultants by helping them find $50,000 or more in hidden revenues and develop steps to put it in their bank account. Also named by Inc. magazine as one of the top 13 business shows to listen to in 2017, JV's the host of the syndicated radio show and podcast Conscious Millionaire and the best-selling author of Conscious Millionaire, Grow Your Business by Making a Difference. JV holds multiple certifications in NLP and has graduate degrees in 3 areas: laws, business, and psychology. JV, welcome to the Business Leadership Series.
Well, Derek, I am excited to be on. And listen, thank you for being on our show, Conscious Millionaire podcast. You're a great guest. And I just want to say hi to everybody who's listening. I am excited to be here, and I'm going to do my best to deliver amazing value for you so that this is a really valuable experience for you.
Man, thank you so much. You're a great example of how to do a podcast and a show on content the right way, and I'm learning from you all the time. You're pioneering it, and you're doing it well. I mean, the top 13, and you're reaching, I think, how many millions of people in 190 countries? 12 million people? Yeah,
12 million, and I just looked at our stats yesterday. It's 194 countries now.
Congratulations on that. That's huge. It means you're doing something very well, and again, I'm excited to learn from you. Hey,
I have great guests, Derek. That's my answer. I have people like you on the show, and people want to hear them.
Well, I'm honored that you allowed me to be a guest. I'm so excited you're with us. I want to hear, you've got a really cool story. Our listeners love to hear from entrepreneurs and from people that have interesting stories and how they've found success over the years. Take us back in your journey a little bit and hit some highlights that are notable to you about how you got to where you are today.
Well, it actually began, and I think was spurred on because I grew up out in the country. Our family didn't have any money. Nobody had any money. There may be 200 people who lived in the little, I guess you have to call it a village. And we were on a 4x5 mile lake. So I grew up out in nature, playing on the beach, the dock, fishing with a cane pole, literally in worms. And at 4, I got my parents to give me a pup tent. That's what I wanted for my birthday. And in our yard, we had a tangerine tree, and my grandmother lived with us. So one day I said, Grandma, let's squeeze the tangerine juice. I'm going to sell it. So we squeezed it all day long and put it in egg cartons because it was the only thing we had. And then I set up my pup tent where the high school kids got off the bus because I figured out that they had jobs and they could pay me some money. And Lucy had nothing on me. She was selling her psychiatric help for a nickel, but I was selling my tangerine juice for a dime. I said, no nickel for me. I want the dime. I'm sure they threw it out because it was just sitting, all day in these little egg cartons. I'm sure nobody drank it, But that was, you look back and you go, there I was at 4, playing Mr. Entrepreneur. At 7, my dad had 100 acres and did peanuts. Now, it's the South, folks. So if you don't live in the South, it may have no meaning to you at all. But in the South, we boil peanuts with salt, and it's called boiled peanuts, and we love to eat them. And I love to eat boiled peanuts. Every time I'm back in Florida, I'm getting myself some boiled peanuts. And so I went around a dime. I sold my boiled peanuts in the morning, and I went back in the afternoon. I sold them to the same people again. So that tells you how much people like boiled peanuts in the South. I got my 20 cents out of my customers a day. And then by 9, I had a lawn mowing business because remember, we didn't have any money. So at 8, my parents gave me an allowance. Folks, they thought it was a lot of money, actually. And they gave me, I don't know, I guess I was stuck on the dime thing. They gave me a dime a week. And I had to mow an acre and wash 2 cars and take out the garbage and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I felt like I was kind of an indentured servant, but I couldn't get out of the deal because I needed a place to sleep and eat, right? And I couldn't take care of that at 9. So I went to all the neighbors and they gave me $1 to $5. So that gives you a comparison right there. And I mowed everybody's lawn in town that would let me mow their lawn and pay me. So I think I came by this honestly, but at 5, I said, I'm tired of living like this already. So I'd figured out from watching television, there were people living in nicer homes than we had. And there were people who apparently had more money than we had. And I decided I'm going to grow up and be a millionaire. And by the time I was 25, I was. I had a 4-story home on the water, Mercedes, and all those trappings. But my story took a dramatic pivot 3 months later when I'm standing in my living room, looking out on the bay. There's sailboats. I had palm trees in my front lawn, and they're blowing, and it's sunshiny. And I felt really miserable. And I said to myself, wow, something is wrong with this picture. I don't even like myself. What happened? And I realized in a flash that my little boy dream was that I was going to grow up and be a millionaire. But that's where it stopped. It just was like I was going to get the stuff. And I thought along with that, everything else undefined was going to be fabulous. But it turned out it wasn't. And then I spent a lot of time, going off to sweat lodges, to Wayne Dyer, to Tony Robbins, to, everybody's seminars looking for what was missing, and ultimately realized, and it's really what brought about Conscious Millionaire. I sold companies because I realized my life had money, but I didn't have any meaning. I didn't have any sense of purpose. And then the short version is that's how Conscious Millionaire came into my consciousness. And I realized I wanted to help people get to their millions, that I know the difference it makes having grown up, basically poor, and being a millionaire makes a lot of difference. You have the freedom. You go get on a plane when you want. You can go to the restaurant you want. You have a lot of choices that you didn't have before. But if those choices come without fulfillment and meaning and purpose and feeling like how you're making your money every day isn't contributing in any way to other people's lives and isn't really fulfilling to you, it's just you found something that makes money, you've got part of the package. And I think you've kind of ripped yourself off unconsciously. And that's what I did, is because you can make whatever level of money you want. I love helping people make money. I love even more that I always help them do it in a way that fulfills them and that makes them into a person that's making a contribution, that it kind of brings that out in them and helps them see their real potential. Because a lot of times somebody's at 100 or 200 or 300,000 a year, and that's great. But the reason they're there is they don't see themselves at 1, 2, or 3 million instead. And I love to help people bring out that reality and see themselves and see their potentials in a completely new way. And then let's go build a model and execute to get there. That's exciting.
That's really
and that's
awesome.
That's what I'm all about.
I love that. And I love that you started on that. And maybe it's because you found money at an early age, but I love that you found that in your early 20s. I feel like for me, it took longer, and I'm still searching, and I'm still on that quest. That's why we're here today. But I'm on a quest as well. So number one, I love that you're helping others realize that it's part of the puzzle. It's only part of the puzzle, only part of the equation. But also that you learned it early.
Initially think that there's a bigger puzzle out there for everybody.
I like that.
And the great thing about the puzzle, that's how I look at life, that life's a puzzle and you just put the pieces together. But folks, here's something that we don't typically think. And I just want to plant the seed and ask you to consider that, when you put puzzles together that are cardboard and they're on the table, the pieces only fit in certain ways. But the truth is, pieces are malleable. Those pieces that you have in your life can change form, and they can come together in many different ways. So there's not just one way to get there. There's not just one way to put the puzzle together. Truthfully, if you can dream it, there is a way to accomplish it. And now I want to reframe that and say there are many ways to accomplish it. The thing is to choose a path and go down that path and get there rather than going in 10 directions. Choose the path. And as you do, those puzzle pieces sometimes will rearrange themselves. Sometimes I go to sleep and I wake up in the next morning and I go, oh, I need to make a shift in that. And you just rearrange the puzzle pieces, but you're still going to the same picture.
Yeah, that's powerful. And me being a guest on your show, I heard you framing it that way, that the way you're able to look at things and adjust and make adjustments to them to still get where you're going. But that's hard for a lot of people to do. Is there a mindset? How do you get that mindset to where you're even able to do that? People seem to get stuck on their path so often, even when it's not working.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great question. I talk about your big impact vision. Now, the reason I think that's the right place to start is you're really asking yourself a series of questions that come together, and it's like this. What is that big result that I'm naturally good at getting? And you're naturally good at getting it because you could do it in your sleep. You enjoy doing it. You get a lot of pleasure from doing that for other people. And then you go, and who do I want to deliver that big result for? And now once you start understanding that, you ask, well, what do they need? And how can I best deliver that result in a way that they need it? Because you see, I help people see themselves differently. And then I help them find what are those high profit leverage points and opportunities. So those are the only ones you're focusing on, because you've got an hour of time. You want to spend that hour not in a way that gives you $500, but a way that gives you $5,000 or even $50,000. Those are your high point leverage points. And a lot of times we have a hard time seeing that for ourselves. And then I help people execute. Those are the three things I do. And I do them incredibly well because those are my natural strengths. You have things about you that are natural strengths as well. Now, my point is, I could do that for lots of different niches. And then I would just understand who they are, what their big problems are, and how it relates to that. In my case, I love working with other coaches and consultants because we all speak the same language. We're all here on the planet wanting to uplift other people. And now you ask, well, why is the big impact vision the real key? Here's why it's the key. The bigger the impact you make, it literally means the more value you deliver. Now we're getting to, I think, common sense about business, because I think conscious business is really common sense. So if you're delivering more value for someone who really wants that value and they're in a position to utilize it, that means they're also in a position to pay you. And so you can get paid more because you have a bigger vision of the impact you want, how you really want to uplift and transform other people's lives. That happens to be the highest form of delivery that you can have, because when you help people transform and reach a mastery level, you're going to get paid the most money. And so the real key is understanding what you do best. Who really needs that you want to work with, and they have the money to pay you? That's a great niche market. And just choose that one niche. I mean, for me, coaches and consultants are, the delivery of a coach and consultant are technically different, but the way they build their business is about the same. And so I only work with that one group because I can build a $100 million business, which is my goal, working with one group, but doing it better in the way that I do it than anybody else on earth, because there are a lot of people around the world that either are or want to become great coaches and consultants. It's one of the big upswings that we have at this moment in time.
That's great. A big impact vision, giving bigger value. It makes sense the way you laid it out. That's great. Thank you for explaining it that way. Hey, I want to shift a little bit and talk about Conscious Millionaire.
Sure.
When I was a guest on your show, you asked me what conscious means. And so I'd like to know from you as well, what does conscious mean to you?
Well, I really mean three things by conscious. The first thing I mean is pure awareness. Now, there's actually multiple levels to just that, but let's start. It's awareness of who you are. And that's really where that big impact vision comes from. It comes from inside you. It's awareness of your values. It's awareness of who's that right target market for you. Who's that ideal client or customer? And then it's awareness about how does business work? How does marketing work? How do you sell? How do you develop a product? All that's pieces of awareness. Awareness of what the trends are and which trends you want to be a part of. Awareness of how you can perhaps start your own category. And now you shift to what I call visionary consciousness. So you have awareness consciousness, which is really the starting place. And then visionary consciousness, you can think of that as higher consciousness. Let me give you an example. So Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, they have bigger visions, but so did Beethoven about music. So everybody who has vision And when we talk about a leader and say, well, that's a visionary leader, what we really mean is they see a possibility about the future that most people aren't seeing. And guess what? Everybody has the ability to do that. And you can do that through a number of techniques like visualization, meditation, opening yourself to connecting with a bigger consciousness that's out there. And meditation is a great way to do that. And now you get a bigger picture of what's possible and what you can deliver through your business and what you can deliver through your life. And then the third area of what I mean by conscious is social responsibility consciousness. And that's huge today. So you're asking big questions that are also can be huge questions about business. How does everybody have water on the planet? How does everybody have education? How does everybody have medical care? How do we create products that are good for the environment when we're through using them? So these are social responsible questions. How do we have housing that people can afford? So you have the social responsible aspect of this, and a lot of people want to be a coach or consultant, and maybe you coach green business clients, and that's part of your social responsibility. Or it could be like in my case, I have a global nonprofit called the Conscious World Foundation. It's a 501c3. So I decided I wanted to create my own nonprofit, and that's where I would channel part of all the money that comes into Conscious Millionaire. Well, you can do that yourself, or you can say, I really believe in this cause, and I want my business, whether it's business coaching, consulting, life coaching, consulting, or any kind of entrepreneurship, I want what I'm doing in business to be connected to a cause that I really believe in. You can look at Tom's shoes, right? For every pair of shoes that are sold, a pair is donated to someone who otherwise wouldn't have shoes. Now, he created that, but there are lots of great causes and nonprofits that already exist, and you can take and put a percentage or a dollar amount every year that goes towards that cause, and then that cause gets connected to what your business is all about. And it also will shift the kind of people who are attracted to you, because all of a sudden people who resonate with that cause and hear about your business, well, you and I know, you're listening today, I am sure there are some businesses that you do business with because you really believe in what they're doing. And that what they're doing is that they're related to some cause, or the product or service that they're selling resonates with your values. And that's probably on a social responsibility level. You can do that too. And there'll be a lot of clients or customers that'll come your way because they want to do business with somebody they believe in their values.
Yeah, I love that. And I hate to overuse the word win-win-win because it's used so much, but I love the idea of having the social responsibility angle. And it's not even an angle. I mean, in our marketing campaigns, we build a causal section, but we try to make sure, hey, this needs to be authentic. This is not something that people will see through it if it's not authentic. But when you're actually building this as part of the fiber and the DNA of your business and how you're growing, and I love the words big impact that you used, and the opportunity to have a legacy with the social responsibility side of your business. That's really powerful, and I get that and how that relates to the conscious side. Tell me, why are you so passionate about helping six-figure service businesses and coaches reach their first million?
Yeah, I'm really passionate because one of the great things of getting there when I was 25 and having this amazing home and a Mercedes, it wasn't that long ago, but a Mercedes 30 years ago was like a Bentley today. There weren't very many people who had a Mercedes. I mean, it's only been recently that you see them all over the place, right? And now you see I'll tout Teslas only because, folks, I own stock in Tesla, so I'll disclaim, but I own stock, and I bought it last December, and it's doubled since I bought it, so I'm happy about that. But I didn't buy it to sell right now. I actually bought it as a 15-year hold, because I have a feeling that Elon is going somewhere. Now, I'm not making a stock recommendation, so if you buy it and it goes to zero, it's not my fault, right? But I have a feeling that 15 years from now, I'm going to be really glad I own this stock. Yeah. I think it's going to be like Apple, right? And then 15 years later, you go, they were having a hard time. People may not remember that, but they were having a hard time in the 90s figuring out their business model, weren't making money. Right. And Steve came back. And they worked on it, and I think we could say they figured it out. Wow. They did a good job of figuring it out. Yes, I was watching a little video on YouTube last night about the 15 wealthiest women. And I was shocked Oprah wasn't number 15 or even on the list. So, but I think the second wealthiest person was Steve Jobs' wife, because she had, it was a large amount. I can't remember. It's going to be a range, folks, and this will sound like, well, but it was somewhere between 15 and 30 something $billion, because, after a while, I don't know how you spend all of that. Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. So at any rate, that's a testament that I think he figured it out.
Yeah, no kidding. So tell me about helping these businesses. I imagine it's so helpful you early on saw the value of not looking at possessions only. When
you reach that $1 million mark, well, first of all, I would argue, that's the attorney in me coming out. I would argue that if you really, have that dream of retiring well and having a great life and you live in the United States, that is $1 million dream. And don't kid yourself, you can do that on 100,000, because you can't. Not in today's world, especially if you live in places like California or New York, or places that are more expensive.
Right.
I know the difference it makes in someone's life, that they can provide for their children and they don't have to worry about the college bill, and they can provide for parents or people they care about. They can give money and time to causes that they believe in, and it's just a game changer. And once you reach it, you hear this all the time, but I'm here to tell you it's true. Once you reach the $1 million level the first time, the second one really is a lot easier. The first one is, a lot of work. You got to figure out the system. You got to scale. You got to learn a lot of things. But imagine you have all that in place and you're bringing in $1 million a year. Then it's just scaling up to get to the 2 or 3 million. And so if you get to the $1 million and you built it correctly, and that's what's so critical. And that's why I like to help people is let's get it in place correctly. Let's get all the systems working right. Let's test things. Let's get the foundation in, and let's look at the first $1 million as figuring it out.
Right.
Then let's go to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 million, whatever it is you want to do, so that you really can scale this up, and you're impacting more people's lives, and you're getting more revenue and profits from it, more cash flows. And then remember the biggest deal, and it's one of the things that I've decided to help some people with once they get into that 7-figure range. And I've already made some connections. I handle the sale of companies myself, is package their business. It's a coaching and consulting business. Most people think of that as changing time for dollars. But if you build it into a 7-figure business and you build it correctly and you name it correctly, you actually have an asset that is going to be worth possibly several times your annual cash flows. And that impacts your net worth in a very, very positive way. And your big payday becomes not the annual cash flow you get, but the day you sell your business. And so packaging coaching and consulting businesses so they can be sold one day is going to make a lot of difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. Hey, you created the 3-step formula for creating wealth. What are those steps, and then how can our listeners use them in their business or finances?
Yeah, the 3 steps, and I'll give them to you, and then I'm going to give you just a brief introduction just because of the time we have, is conscious, focused action. So at each level, there are 3 things you need to do, and I want to go over them just briefly because these are critical. It's how I make every decision. It's how I teach our clients to make decisions, and it's how you move forward really quickly. So at the conscious level, the first question is a 2-part. Let's think 30 days out. I love to have 30-day goals because 30-day results, we feel a lot more control, and we can focus every day on getting there. So what is that number 1 priority for you to achieve with your business in the next 30 days? And why are you choosing that above any other priority? Because one of the biggest hindrances I found in doing coaching with so many people is they're trying to do 10 different things, and all of them are important. It's not like they're doing things that are completely unimportant, but you can only have number one priority. And when you force yourself to make that your 30-day focus, your entire business and your entire consciousness and your team and everything you do changes because you're not trying to do 12 things. You're trying to do one thing exceedingly well because you know it's going to make the biggest difference. And then you ask, well, who do I need to have help me? Who do I need on my team? And that who question is really your resource. Are there resources I don't have right now that I'm going to need? And then how? And I like people to paint 3 different pathways and to do all that up front. And you can do all that in one day. And now you're ready to go. And what are the 3 different ways that you might take this journey over the next 30 days? So you can really look that you have options. Then conscious, focused. When we think of focus, most of the time we think of mental focus. But as important as mental focus is, and by the way, the best way to do that is ask yourself specific questions. The Heart Math Institute has discovered that the energy that comes out of your heart is 5,000 times stronger than the energy coming out of your mind.
Wow.
So the best way I found to describe what you really want to do in terms of focusing your whole heart, when you say that, it's not quite so clear, but this is clear. Have your whole heart in it. Be fully committed. And that's an emotional commitment. It's not a mental commitment. When you're fully committed to something, you're completely emotionally immersed in it. And then your body, and this comes down to health, folks, you need to be eating a great diet. You need to be going to the gym. I'm going to tell you, if you're not, you're wasting 2 or 3 hours a day of sluggish energy. And so your body needs to be fully focused and ready to take action. Because if you're in bed sick, you cannot be building your business. So you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your community, to your clients, to your family to focus on your health. And that's why on Sundays we're doing, Health Sunday, because it's so important on the show that we focus on our health. Now, those are the 3 pieces about conscious focus. Now let's talk about action. So you've got this 30-day outcome, and you've written it in a specific, measurable way. So you know specifically if you got there or you didn't get there. So you don't want to ever say, I want to make more money this month. Your brain has no idea what that means. But if you say, I want to make, this is the month I want to make $25,000 for the first time. Congratulations, because it's going to feel amazing. And right now, I chose a number that maybe that feels like a stretch to you. And if it doesn't, make it 50,000. I want you to feel like it's a stretch. I want you to have to figure out how to get there. And then write out all the actions that you think are the main actions you'll need to take, you or anybody on your team, over the next 30 days. That's step 1 in the action part. Step 2 in the action part is now rearrange them in the order they need to occur. I'm going to give you a guarantee because I've never found myself or anybody else who had all the pieces once they did that. Here's what happens. There are things that we do so naturally, we don't even think it's a step, but it is a step. I'm going to give you a silly example. You got to make a phone call. You've got to pick up your phone and turn it on or put it on dial before you can make that phone call. But that's so unconscious in you, you don't think it is a step. But if you had to explain it to somebody, it actually is a step, and it does take time. Now, the third part is ask yourself about each of those steps. Is there something internal or external that has to happen other than the step before it, before you can do that step? Example, let's say you're putting up a landing page. You want to market. You want to drive some traffic to it. And maybe you need a graphic. Well, then you've got to go out. Maybe you go to Fiverr. Maybe you have somebody you typically work with, or maybe somebody internally is going to do some research, but you've got to get the graphic and get it on the landing page before you launch the landing page. Or maybe there's something internal you need from somebody else who's going to do some copy for you. Or there could be something external to your team. Let's say you're going to do a Valentine's special. Well, you cannot do Valentine's special in September. It won't work. You're going to have to wait for February to come along, and it's going to work best if you aim it for February 14th. But if you launch it on February 15th, good luck. So that's an external thing that has to happen, and you need to actually. I've given you obvious ones, but there's always those kinds of things coming up. So conscious focused action, that's the best way to apply it. I gave you a great example. Choose a 30-day outcome that you think is the number one priority. Okay, so I can hear you. I can actually hear you. And I know what you're saying. You're going, but JV, I got all this other stuff I got to do. Here's what I find. If you don't do it, I know you're going, what? I have to do it. I have to answer all those emails. No, actually, you don't. You don't. I assure you, you do not have to answer all of the emails. But what you do have to do is get to that number one priority, because if you don't get there, answering the emails aren't going to matter. Right? And so when you refocus your business and how you are executing on a daily basis, so you're always, each 30 days, imagine 12 months from now, if every 30 days you were to choose the number one priority. You're going to learn along the way that a lot of this stuff you thought was important is not important. Now, I want to be clear, because I am a tax attorney. If you have to send in a quarterly report to the IRS, I would suggest you send it on time, because otherwise you are going to get a penalty. Good luck in getting out of that one. But that's not much of the stuff that you have in that to-do list. Most of the stuff in that to-do list, the world will not end. And what I found is that if I didn't get that done for a week, it's okay. Now, I'm going to give you a little cheat sheet about how to handle emails, because we all are in the same problem, right? We're all getting, it's not like one person's important and they get all the emails. We all get emails. So I've changed my mindset about a year ago about emails. I used to think, I've got to attend to all these. And I'm going, this is just crazy. And so then I created a new rule. How quickly can I get rid of the email became the name of the game. Now, I want you to know the fastest way to get rid of an email is delete it without ever opening it. And what's nice is people who send you all those unsolicited emails. By the way, you didn't ask for them. You don't owe them an answer unless it's the IRS, and you better answer them. Okay? So from the subject line, and you can see the first part of a line, if it looks like a pitch and you don't really feel like you need a pitch, ding, click on it, delete it. And then create a system where you can look at an email and very quickly, I'm talking 10 seconds, 15 seconds, scan it and decide, is there something important here? And if there isn't, you can get rid of that one as well. And you can also have a folder that you label, like in Gmail, and you can put like asterisks or exclamation marks and a bunch of A's. That's how I do it. So I make it the top one. Then you can just put stuff in there that's really important and you don't want to get it lost. You do want to respond to them, but then you can just go to that and respond to them all one time. It's either first thing in the morning or last thing in the day, but you don't have to respond to all these emails unless it's an emergency, and very few things are an emergency. So if they don't hear from you for 7 hours, they're not going to stop breathing. Trust me, they are not going to drop dead because they didn't hear from you.
Great advice. And I think we end up creating this synthetic urgency, and the faster we respond, the faster they expect to be responded to. And then we can't do that deep work. I love it.
Especially if it's a text message. So what I do with the text message is I kind of give a quick look, because you can see it in your phone without opening it. And unless it's something that has to be responded to, I don't open it, because then it leaves it. But I've got 2 text messages and I know I need to respond to them. But I don't, just because somebody texts you does not mean you have to respond in 10 minutes unless it's like super important. The world will not end. So you've got to take control over your time, and you've got to be executing to get to that one outcome, that conscious, focused action, to that one result that's going to move your business forward, and you will grow faster than you've ever grown before.
I mean, great advice, JV. Thank you so much. Conscious, focused action. I love it. I want our listeners to be reminded that you can listen to JV's show as well. I've been able to be a guest on there. JV has world-class guests and listeners from all over the world with a syndicated radio show and podcast, Conscious Millionaire. Again, his best-selling book, Conscious Millionaire, Grow Your Business by Making a Difference. Great read. JV, how can our listeners connect with you?
Sure. Well, if you are a coach or consultant, that's all I work with is coaches and consultants. What I offer is an opportunity to have a call with me. It's by application. I can't take everybody, but I will look at your application and I respond to all the applications. And even if having a session isn't a good fit, I'm going to send you a gift absolutely free that'll help you move your business forward. So you're going to win either way. And if we do a session, it's called the $50,000 breakthrough session. And I will help you find $50,000 or more in hidden revenues in your business and create steps to start picking up that money and putting it in the bank.
Wow, that's awesome.
Now, the way you apply for that is to go to consciousmillionaire.com. And I've created a short, it's 3 to 4 minute video. And so it's consciousmillionaire.com/my video. Again, that's consciousmillionaire.com/my video. And there'll be a link right below the video where you can go to the application and apply to have a session with me.
Awesome. JV, thank you again for being a guest today. Man, we could talk to you all day. We're going to have to invite you back again someday soon because you've got so much knowledge to share and we love learning from you. Hey, we look forward to continuing to follow the amazing things that you're doing. And is there any final words you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I want you to take conscious focused action. I want you to do exactly what we've been talking about these last few minutes. I want you to identify today, what is that big outcome that should be your number one priority for 30 days from now, and make that your number one priority. And don't go to bed until you know what that is, because that's a game changer.
Love it. I want to encourage our listeners to do that and then also send it in so we can see what goals you made, and we'll help hold you accountable. We'd love to do that. JV, thank you again, and we look forward to following the amazing thing that you have going on.
Thank you so much, Derek. And listen, thank you for listening today. It's great being on this call with you, Derek, and it's great connecting to everybody who's listening.
We'll talk soon, buddy.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be.